Bonjour. Je m'appelle Vanessa. That's all the French I know. I took German in high school, so. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like a French person. Well, I gotta dress the part to talk about French it girls. If you've ever heard French music in movies that sounds like it's from the 1960s, I don't want to get copyrighted. That genre of music has a name, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. It is called yeah music. Yeah. Hi, I just wanted to pop in and say that the original audio for this video got corrupted somehow, but I thought the raw audio from the footage sounded okay, so I'm gonna try it and see how that works. So I'm sorry if it sounds a little echoey or bad. This was a genre of pop music that originated in Western and Southern Europe, mainly France, but also in Italy and a little bit in Spain in the 1960s. My name's Vanessa, and I love pop culture, history, music history. I love all kinds of stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about a genre that is called yeye, or yeye, from France. So, I'm trying a new angle. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I brought it a little closer and a little lower, so we're gonna see how that works out. You can't see my records as much, but you really only need to see that one because it's the only record that I have related to yeye music. The term yeye comes from ya, which were lyrics often used by popular rock and roll musicians at the time, like the Beatles. Most yeye singers were girls. There were a few boys, but I'm focusing on the girls because they're iconic and they slay. Most of the yeye girls were teenagers or young adults during the height of their popularity in the 1960s. The origins of the genre can be traced back to a French radio show called Salut les Copains, which basically means hi friends. I am sorry if my pronunciations are not great. I practiced this time. Salut les Copains was extremely popular in France, and it could be compared to American Bandstand in the United States or Top of the Pops in the United Kingdom. The show got its start in 1959. One of the sections of that show was called Les Chouchous de la Semaine. Les Chouchous de la Semaine? Semaine? Uno momento. So, okay, in trying to find the pronunciation for Les Chouchous de la Semaine, I found that Chouchou was a mascot. So Chouchou was a mascot for the magazine Salut les Copains, which is an accompaniment to the radio show. I did not know that. See, it's crazy. I wish that in America we learned more about other cultures and like how to speak other languages, because I mean, you learn something new every day. Okay, I think I got it. Le chouchou de la semaine. We're going with it. So I guess Chouchou was a boy. They're so cute. Oh my gosh. They remind me of something that we have, or at least had, in America back in the 60s. Can't put my finger on it. Sidetrack, but this is really interesting to me. So Chouchou was first seen in the May 1st, 1963 issue number 10 of the monthly magazine Salut les Copains. Oh, he has a fiancée named Yeye and a little brother, named Mini Chouchou. He has a dog named Wawa. This is so fun.
J'aime bien Johnny, Françoise et Sylvie. Chaque fois qu'ils chantent, moi je les envie. Que j'ai le cafard ou que je sois gay, c'est toujours à eux que je me confie.
The name Chouchou comes from one of the segments on the show, Salut les Copains, which I believe is the one, Les Chouchous de la Semaine, which I read as being this week's sweetheart. This says that it designates the favorite song or artist of the broadcast at the beginning and end of each show, so I guess it's the same thing. Chouchou was inspired by Claude Lemoyne, Lemoine was a record executive. That's so interesting. This was unexpected, but that's okay. Let's get back to the Yé Yé girls. Le Chouchou de la Semaine, or This Week's Sweetheart, was a segment each week where a new girl was featured on the show. These girls were affectionately called the Yé Yé girls, or Yé Yé. I say Yé Yé because it looks like Yé Yé, but I think it's Yé Yé. Some examples of these girls were Sylvie Vartan, Gall, and Francoise Hardy. Her name is hard for me to say. It's officially Yé Yé. Hopefully I can get out of it. Yé Yé. Yé Yé. Yé Yé. As a genre, Yé Yé takes its origins in pop, jazz, and a French genre called chanson, which literally just translates to song. Trying to find an explanation for this was a little hard, but from what I understand, I think that chanson is any French music that has lyrics and is secular, so not religious. It's been around for a very, very long time, since like medieval times. Chanson sounds like it's just music that is not religious. It is secular in French. I would compare Yé Yé music to probably bubblegum pop. I feel like it's more jazzy than bubblegum pop, but bubblegum pop was music that was specifically marketed to teens, and that's kind of what the Yé Yé music was also. A lot of bubblegum pop music were things like Sugar Sugar by the Archies and Yummy 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 by the Ohio Express. They weren't super deep. They didn't have deep meanings. They were just fun and catchy. That's kind of Yé Yé music. I don't know all the lyrics. Obviously, I don't speak French. I feel like Yé Yé is a little more substantial than bubblegum pop. That's kind of how I would describe Yé Yé. It's fun but subdued. It sounds jazzy. Some other inspiration for this genre includes the wall of sound technique by Phil Spector with his group The Ronettes. The wall of sound is a little complex. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it was like groundbreaking. But if you listen to some of the music that he did and then some of the Yé Yé, I feel like you can hear the inspiration. For the most part, Yé Yé music was written by men, middle-aged men, instead of teen girls. There were a couple of major songwriters that contributed to Yé Yé, such as Serge Gainsbourg. Yé Yé music was unique in that most, if not all, songs were entirely in French. There was no English, basically. At this time, in the early to mid-60s, the British invasion was super popular all over the globe. And singers and musicians and record companies in other countries, they were trying to cash in on this. Yé Yé was different. It sounded different. It was sung in French. And a lot of the Yé Yé girls did not end up being one-hit wonders like you might expect. They became very big celebrities in their own country and even pretty well known in others. Serge Gainsbourg is a creep and he's gross. Well, he passed away, so he was a creep and he was gross. I don't really want to make a separate video about him, maybe someday, but right now I'm focusing on the girls. However, I do want to go over some highlights or maybe lowlights of his career and his life, just so you can get an idea what kind of guy Gainsbourg was.
La jeunesse, à jamais, on est venu te dire qu'on t'aime bien. Et tes provocations n'y changent rien. Cigarette et whisky, on s'en fout bien. Nous c'est les mélodies qu'on aime bien.
He dated Brigitte Bardot while she was married. He dated Jane Birkin, who was 18 years younger than him. Technically, she was an adult at the time that they were dating, so she was 23 and he was 41. But do you think that a 41-year-old has anything in common with a 23-year-old? Gainsbourg wrote a concept album about falling for a teenage girl who dies in a plane crash. I mentioned his song Lemon Incest that he did with his daughter. So I just looked that up. When I saw the picture, I was like, she looks really young. She was 13.
Oh my God!
And he also stated that he wanted to Whitney Houston on live TV in 1986. She was 23 at the time, and he had to have been in like probably his 50s, maybe a winner. Okay, so let's talk about what we're really here for, and that is the Yeye girls, the French it girls. I love Yeye. I discovered it in high school. I feel like I've discovered all of this stuff in high school that I've talked about. I was 16. That's when I actually got this shirt. I've had this shirt for forever. I love it. It's one of my favorite shirts. You pry it from my cold dead hands. And I remember I listened to it, and the guy that I was dating at the time thought it was dumb. He was bad guy. That's complicated. I don't want to go into that. Okay, so first I want to start with Francoise Gall, who's actually this lady right here. She was born on October 9th, 1947, and her birth name is Isabelle Genevieve Marie Anne Gall. Her father wrote songs for Edith Piaf, and her mother was a singer and the daughter of the founder of a boys' choir. When Gall was 15, her dad helped her record some songs and send demos out to different record companies. She was signed to a label that same year, and this is how she met Serge Gainsbourg. Gall's first single was released on her 16th birthday, and it sold 200,000 copies. She had a few #1 hits in France, but she really gained notoriety when she was chosen to represent Luxembourg at the Eurovision Song Contest in 1965. At Eurovision, the song she sang was Poupée de cire, Poupée de sang, which translates to wax doll, rag doll in English. Basically, the song is about a girl who sings songs that she herself knows nothing about and how she feels like a puppet. Things got kind of weird for her in the late 1960s. She had a song called, I'm gonna butcher it, J'ai retrouvé mon chien.
J'ai retrouvé mon chien.
Which translates to I found my dog. She performed the song on a show. During that performance, there was a group of old men dancing around her on all four, and people were not happy about that. In 1967, she sang a duet with a man about a girl desired by a friend of her father. There was also Teeny Weeny Boppy, which was a song written by Gainsbourg about the dangers of LSD, and another song that was written about the death penalty. She had some success in the 1980s with songs that focused on humanitarian efforts, as well as a big hit in Europe in the late 80s with the song Ella Ella. Gall was married and had 2 children. Her husband passed away from a heart attack in 1992. Her daughter had cystic fibrosis and passed away in 1997. Gall actually had cancer for a while in the 90s, but it was put into remission. She actually passed away in 2018, which I had totally forgotten about. I feel kind of bad because I really like her. She died at the age of 70 from an infection from the cancer that had come back. Francoise.
In French, for reference, it is said as Françoise. Françoise.
I totally did not have to practice this name for a long time. Francoise Hardy was born on January 17th, 1944. She was not only famous in France, but she was very popular internationally. When she was born, France was actively involved in World War II. Apparently there was an air raid while she was being born in the hospital and all of the windows exploded. She had one younger sister, and they were both raised by their mother, as their father was married and very absent. He only visited them a couple times a year. Francoise had terrible anxiety, and it was exacerbated by the income gap between her and her peers at the Catholic school she attended. It was also exacerbated by her maternal grandma, who would tell her that she was a terrible person all the time. Francoise tried to learn piano when she graduated from high school. She asked for a guitar, which she used to write her own music. She tried going to school for political sciences, but went for German instead. During this time, she was playing small gigs and even auditioned for a record company. As she was beginning her career, a lot of the people involved in the entertainment industry thought she was incredibly beautiful, which is something that she didn't see in herself. She was able to get a record deal and performed an original song on TV in 1962. After this, she became a Yeye pop sensation. In 1963, her debut album, Tous les garçons et les filles, sold 2.5 million copies within just a few months. Hardy quickly became popular in other countries as well, like Italy, where one of her songs sold 255,000 copies. She really achieved international stardom in the mid to late 1960s when she started recording songs in other languages and releasing music in other countries. Apart from music, she also appeared in some movies. She became an astrologer, writing books on the subject, and she dove further into writing essays and novels. She's well known for her style. She appeared in fashion magazines and had her picture taken by many famous photographers. At one time, she was married to fellow French musician Jacques Dutronc. I feel so embarrassed. At least I'm not like Jack Dutronc. And they had one child named Thomas, who is also a musician. In the last years of her life, she battled lymphoma and underwent intense chemotherapy. She lost her ability to sing, unfortunately, and she would pass away from cancer at the age of 80 in 2024. Sylvie Vartan was born August 15, 1944 in Bulgaria, and she is one of my favorite Yeye girls. I think she's so beautiful, and I love her hair, clearly. I tried to kind of do my bangs like her. Vartan's career started when she was around 8 years old, when a friend of her father offered her a role in a Bulgarian movie. Her family immigrated to Paris in December of 1952, and she spent the next 2 years learning French. Sylvie recorded her first song in 1961, and it became a hit. She had multiple hits in the early 1960s with covers of What Did I Say by Ray Charles and The Locomotion, which I'm pretty sure was sung in French. In 1963, she toured with Johnny Hallyday, another French musician, and became engaged with him. They married in 1965 and they had one son, David Hallyday. They divorced in 1980. Both Sylvie and Johnny would go to Nashville and record an album that would become a huge success in France. It was full of covers of American country music. Sylvie performed with the Beatles at one point, and she appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show. Throughout the mid to late 1960s, she performed a variety of shows, and she would change her image by the end of the decade. In 1968 and 1970, she was in a couple of serious car accidents. This didn't stop her from performing though. She recovered, even though the prognosis was not very good. She has sold millions of records, and at the time, her label RCA, she was the most successful artist right after Elvis. In 1982, she released a duet with John Denver. I actually found it very hard to find a lot of more recent information on her, but looking at her Facebook, it looks like she's still active and doing stuff. I know she's at least still alive. This next one is kind of a weird example because she's not actually French. Her name is Gillian Hills, and she was born on June 5th, 1944 in Egypt. Even though she was born in Egypt, she's actually British. She's from England. She spent a lot of time in France, and she was discovered by Roger Vadim, who was a director of And God Created Woman, which is a movie that starred Brigitte Bardot. Roger Vadim saw her as the next Brigitte Bardot and cast her in a movie. At the age of 15, Gillian was cast in the film Beat Girl. It's basically about a teenager who wants to piss off her parents by rebelling against them. In 1961, that's when she started to be a Yeye girl. She performed at the same theater as Johnny Hallyday in 1961. She had many hits, and there are two that are probably pretty recognizable to American audiences. One of them is, I'm gonna feel so stupid saying this. One of them is the, and that's how it goes. And the other one is Zooby Zooby Zoo. Zooby Zoo? Zooby Zooby Zoo, which is probably the most recognizable one. That song was featured in Mad Men. Zooby Zooby Zoo. Zooby Zooby Zoo. Zooby Zooby Zoo. So after Gillian's success as a Yeye singer, she acted in some movies, mainly small bit parts. She actually had a cameo in A Clockwork Orange, which is one of my favorite movies, which I don't know what that says about me. If you've seen the movie, she was one of the girls in the record store that Alex picks up and takes back home. She's the one with the long blonde hair. After her time in movies, she became an illustrator, illustrating book covers for books like Flowers in the Attic and The Color Purple. I think that she is now retired. I don't think she's actively singing or acting or illustrating anymore. There are so many Yeah Yeah girls. It would be almost impossible to talk about all of them. There's Jacqueline Taïb, Anna Karina, Jane Birkin, and Annie Philippe. I would love to talk about Jane Birkin, and Anna Karina sounds interesting too, so maybe I'll do a separate video. It can be argued that Brigitte Bardot is a Yeah Yeah girl. She did release similar music at the time, and she did work closely with Serge Gainsbourg. However, she was kind of different because she was much older than the other girls. She was in her 30s while they were teenagers and young 20-year-olds. Brigitte Bardot is also not a good person, and I didn't really want to cover her here. I think that she would probably get her own video because just some of the disturbing things that she said, and a lot of people probably know about it after she passed away last year. I didn't know. I kind of knew, but I didn't know the extent until last year, and I feel terrible because I model my haircut after her. She does have such beautiful hair, but just because someone is beautiful does not excuse racist and disgusting, gross behavior. Also, in doing this research, I found a singer. Her name is Nancy Holloway. She's from America, but she was pretty popular in France during this time. She was actually African American, which makes her unique among the other Yeah Yeah girls. She actually started her career at the Moulin Rouge in 1959 and had a lot of hits in France in the 1960s, but she would unfortunately pass away in 2019. So, Yeah Yeah music did not last long at all. It died out in the late 1960s and it hasn't ever really come back around. However, many of the stars that popularized it did maintain some level of success either in France or across the world or in other countries. A lot of these songs have been featured in films by Quentin Tarantino and Wes Anderson. You've probably heard them in Wes Anderson films for sure. I think I like it because it has this kind of nostalgic quality to it and it's unique. I've never heard anything exactly like Yeah Yeah. It makes me feel so chic, you know, and just it makes me feel cool. I feel like I probably could have added more information in, but it was kind of hard to research this because some of the girls' lives were a lot, like Jane Birkin. I don't know, maybe I'll do some videos about them in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think it was nice to do a short one after I did my Monkeys series. I hope that you check out some Yeah Yeah music. I'll try to link some down below. There's a lot of good music out there, and I think it's so interesting that different countries have their own music. I hope you enjoyed this video. My next goal is to get a camera, like a real camera, and not use my phone. Anyway, if you have any ideas for topics that you would like for me to talk about, or you think I would find interesting, or that you find interesting, please let me know. I am always open to ideas. I'm very close to hitting 100 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I graduated with like 300 people, so that's 1/3 of my graduating high school class. So that's pretty big. Je t'aime, au revoir.